Hey everybody, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed, the television edition, back for the attack live. I was off last week. I became violently ill. But as you can see, I'm feeling better. Still haven't gotten a haircut. Women keep telling me they like the longer hair on me, so I keep. So if you didn't see me last week and figured, oh, he's finally getting a haircut, so he took the day off, that's not the case. So. Yeah, I was not in any condition to be here, which is strange. I don't usually get sick in the summertime. Certainly not cold and flu season, but what are you going to do? So instead we reran the previous week's edition of the show, which actually worked out okay. That was my conversation with George Lambert and his wife Rhonda and their daughter Stephanie. And I don't know what kind of numbers MPTS does with that, but when I looked at the numbers through IPMNation.com, that was actually by far the most viewed episode ever of the TV edition of Matt Connarton Unleashed. So you got to see it again. So lots to talk about, both politically and some housekeeping matters. Some little announcements to make, some changes that have been happening in the world of IPMNation.com, as well as the Dr. Kevin Radio Network. A lot of exciting things. It's actually been a great summer so far and a lot of good stuff in the works. But I want to start with something that you don't see a lot of on this show from me, humility. It's called Unleashed for a reason, because I just kind of say whatever I'm thinking, whatever I'm feeling about whatever it is, with little regard for consequence or potential hurt feelings or whatever it may be. That's kind of the point of the show. But, I will admit when I've probably gone a little too far, or maybe I've been a little intemperate. I think that it is important, in keeping honest and the show honest, that when I perhaps take something a little far, or maybe get carried away with something, and conduct myself in a manner that I think is beyond what I think is good decorum, I think I should own up to it and apologize for it. And there has been something going on recently that some of you, I'm sure, have been paying attention to. It kind of revolves around things here locally in Manchester, but what I said, because I realize that's where the bulk of our audience is, who watch us on MPTS. But we do have viewers in other parts of the country as well, of course, who watch us on IPMNation.com, and because we discuss largely national politics on this show. But there's been a lot going on locally. Having said that, I have said things about a particular individual, and I think that while I don't necessarily take back anything that I've said in terms of how I feel about that person, I think some of my comments may have been a little over the edge and have gone a little bit overboard. And I do want to take a moment to kind of apologize publicly to that individual if I may have taken things a little too far. And I'm sure that many of you probably already know or have a pretty good idea of exactly what I'm referring to and who I'm talking about. But in case you don't, and we'll further explain, we have a picture. John, can we go ahead and put that picture up, please? So this is Florida Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who a few weeks on the show I referred to as Muppet Head, because I've always felt very strongly that she kind of looks like a Muppet. There's something not fully human about her, as you can see in this picture. She really does look like a Muppet, or a Muppet human hybrid. Thanks, John. So I just wanted to show that picture and kind of apologize to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anything necessarily insulting about saying that she looks like a Muppet. I mean, who doesn't like Muppets? But it has been brought to my attention by someone that apparently the term Muppet Head, and guys, I swear to God, I had no idea this was the case. Apparently that is considered a slur. And I didn't know. I use the term innocently, and I know ignorance is no excuse, especially in these politically correct times in which we live. But I did hear from my token Native American friend, Chief Running Water. He did call me. Again, I keep reminding him I don't understand the smoke signals, so you have to call me. So he informed me that that is in fact a slur, Muppet head, and the politically correct term for someone of Debbie Wasserman Schultz's genetic makeup, shall we say, is Henson American. So again, I apologize. I had no idea. You know me. I don't like to be offensive, particularly to anyone's heritage. I mean, this is America. It's a melting pot. We got all different kinds of people here. Including, of course, my friend Chief Running Water, who did, and it was nice of him to call me and kind of give me a heads up. He was on break from his job at the casino, and he wasn't entirely drunk yet, so he kind of filled me in on what's up. Apparently, they can call each other Muppet Head. That's acceptable. But, they can be like, yo, what up, Muppet Head? But we can't do that. I can't do that. So I do apologize publicly to Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz for my slur, and it shall not happen again. Unless, of course, I decide to bring it up at some point for comedic effect. But otherwise, it won't happen again, ever. So thank you for bearing with me. Words hurt. Words hurt, people. Lesson learned. Mea culpa. So we shall continue on, having gotten that out of the way. So some other things to tell you about. One of them is regarding this show. Some of you may have noticed a couple of weeks ago when the Lamberts came on, that episode of the show got uploaded to IPMNation.com that same evening, and it will be that way going forward. In the past, if you didn't get to see the show live on Wednesday, you would have to wait until the following week to either see the show on demand when we would eventually get it up online, or you could catch one of the replays. And we do have the replay times at IPMNation.com/MCUTV. And we are aware that, a lot of people watch the show on replay because that's on in the evening. And so a lot of people can't watch us live. But for example, now, today's show, this will actually get uploaded tonight. So you won't have to wait until next week to see the replay or to get the show then. So, and it's an important change that we've made because this show, we do discuss politics and world events, and we don't want to be a week behind on stuff for those folks who can't watch it live. So this show will get uploaded tonight, and it will continue to be that way going forward. So we want to keep the show current. So that's exciting. And I also want to mention, because people have been asking me, and I wanted to get to this a couple of weeks ago, but things kept getting in the way. Some of you may have noticed, those who watch, MPTS on Wednesdays, that I am no longer on Norm and Friends, and Norm has kind of addressed it on his show, on Norm and Friends, which is, used to be our show. But no, I just want everybody to understand that our parting is completely amicable. There was no fight or argument or, Norm and I are great friends. And but the reality is I had done that show for 7 years. Believe it or not, 7 years, gone in the blink of an eye that I was Norm's co-host. And very, very grateful for that opportunity. Which led to some other things. But, 7 years is a long time. And, sometimes you have to freshen things up. I think Norm recognized that. And, I think people could kind of tell, too, that there were weeks that I was still really into the show and really engaged like I'd always been. And there were other weeks where I seemed to be kind of, not completely there. And, sometimes change is good, change is positive. But again, completely amicable. And part of the reason I stress this is I'm all about gratitude. Gratitude is very important to me. And people who have helped me along the way, people who have helped me to achieve things, people who have seen things in me that maybe I didn't know were there. I appreciate that tremendously. And I want to say this publicly, and I was going to do this last week, but I was violently ill, as I said. I want to publicly thank Norm sincerely, because that was my first time doing a weekly television show, Norm and Friends. When I originally met Norm, Christy LaValle and I had gone to an event that Norm was putting on at the old TV 23 when it was down on Commercial Street, a psychic event. And Christy, of course, owns Styling Souls, which is one of the two places that I work out of where I do hypnotherapy. Styling Souls up in Concord. At the time, it was in Manchester, and I just started working for Christy. And so Christy and I went to this event to meet Norm because we were going to be guests on what at that time was Norm's Psychic World coming up. So Christy wanted to introduce me to Norm ahead of time and check out the event and whatever. So I met Norm that day. And I guess that was about 8 years ago now. And then, so Christy and I went on Norm's show. And I think Christy and I only went on together once, but then I went on a couple more times as a guest. I had a more flexible schedule than Christy did. So there were times when Christy wasn't available to go on, but I was able to go on by myself and kind of represent both of us. So I did that. And Norm's co-host at the time, Angie Danjou, she was on her way out. She was Norm's co-host, but she was kind of slowly pulling away because she had some other things that she wanted to do. And her duties on Norm and Friends were not compatible with her other endeavors. So so she was kind of moving away from doing that. Norm needed a new co-host, so he asked me to do it. And I was very surprised and very honored, and I jumped at the opportunity to do it. It was a role that I had to grow into. I was very quiet in the beginning. I kind of wasn't sure what my place was. I kind of only spoke when spoken to. I eventually came out of my shell, but in the beginning I was very quiet. But that becoming Norm's co-host, that led to a lot of other things. You know, it led to me ultimately doing my own show, which you're watching right now. It led to me getting to do the Marr Report with Cheryl Marr, which led to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades when Cheryl was tragically taken from us. And it really did a lot for me in terms of kind of developing my own on-air persona and really kind of learning how to do this and be confident in front of a television camera. I owe Norm a lot. And so, you know, I want to take this moment to publicly thank him because honestly, prior to him asking me to be his co-host, it had never even occurred to me that I should even be on television or that this was anything I would ever be good at. And in the beginning, I wasn't good at it at all. It took me, like I said, it took me a while to grow into it. But the point being, Norm saw something in me that I honestly had no idea was there. And so I'm very grateful. So Norm, if you're watching, thank you so much for that. And it was a great 7 years. And I think it's funny, he asked me, I think it's August 20th, his new co-host, Lori Powers-Otto, who's doing a great job, she's going to be gone that week. So Norm asked me to fill in for his new co-host that week. So I'll be guest co-hosting on Norm and Friends. I think it's August 20th, if I remember correctly. So that's kind of funny. But no, very grateful to Norm. Like I said, I'm big on gratitude. I've known some people, and I'm thinking of one person in particular, yes, who don't tend to be particularly grateful for things that people have done for them, who have given them opportunities and helped them. And I've always been big on gratitude. You know, I've always been very grateful to Hammer from RageRockRadio.com. He's the one who gave me my first ever radio show, hosting a radio show years back. He's another person who saw something in me that I didn't think was there, but he thought I'd be a good radio host, and he gave me a gig. I hosted a show called The Metal Classroom. That was the first radio show I ever hosted. So very grateful to him. Annie Biello, who's the program director at 100.1 The Planet in Plymouth. She gave me the opportunity to do a show called Local Outbreak, which I still do every week. It's the #1 show on IPMNation.com. You know, very grateful to Gary Hopper, who lets me be his co-host on Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades every week, even though I'm kind of the fly in the ointment sometimes because I'm not a conservative. But, you know, there's a lot of people. There's more people I could mention. I don't want to go on and on with this. We have a lot to get to, but there's just a lot of people who've given me these opportunities over the years who I'm just so tremendously grateful to. especially when they were opportunities that I, at the time, had never even considered for myself because I didn't think they were things I'd be good at. So, but it really kind of started with Norm. So thank you, Norm. And anyway, so speaking of gratitude, Dr. Kevin at the Dr. Kevin Radio Network, he's given me the opportunity. I do 2 shows on there, the radio edition of Unleashed as well as the Matt Connarton show. That gives me a chance to talk to a national audience every Tuesday and Thursday night. So very grateful to Dr. Kevin as well. And by the way, I met Dr. Kevin through Norm. Through doing Norm and Friends. So, and another thing I wanted to mention too, there's a lot of cool stuff going on right now with the Dr. Kevin Radio Network. I'm taking on a much larger role with that now in terms of promotions and advertising and marketing and all of that stuff. And we have some great new shows that are coming on with bigger and bigger celebrities who are going to be our guests. And keep an eye on that. So dkrn.fm is the new website. Also, IPMNation.com. There's been some changes with that. If you haven't looked at that lately, you should take a look. And we have a big new service we're going to be launching in a couple of months, which I can't talk about yet, but it's going to be really big. So there's all kinds of cool stuff going on. And the housekeeping that I wanted to quickly take care of has taken the first 17 minutes of the show. So now we'll get into some issues. So I just realized, by the way, I don't know how well you can see it, but I left my Pepsi Max sitting out in front there. I apologize for that. I try not to do that because it's not like they're a sponsor of the show or anything. They don't give us money, so there's really no reason for, you know. Sometimes you see in TV and movies a lot, you see product placement where you'll see something in a scene where, you know, it's sort of subtly promoting it. It's not actually acknowledged, but you sort of subconsciously notice it, which I would happily do if, by the way, if anyone from Pepsi is watching, if you want to give me money for product placement, I will happily display this, you know, anywhere you want on the set. Or even if you want to give me even more money and do, you know, like in radio, they call it a live read where you actually, you know, sort of read a live commercial on the air during the show. I would, you know, certainly if they want to give me money, I could do like, you know, I love Pepsi Max. And, you know, even if it's true that aspartame gives you cancer, whatever, this is cool and refreshing. You know, I would happily do that. I want to talk about, and it's hard to pick. I've been saying this a lot lately. There's so much going on in the world and in politics that it's an embarrassment of riches, as they say. Oh, by the way, hello to Dan Randlett, who is watching. Dan enjoyed my apology. And Dan and I actually are going to Friday, August 1st. We're going to see Kiss and Def Leppard at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield, Mass. So IPMNation.com will be there to represent. Dan is, of course, a longtime member of IPMNation.com and also a diehard Kiss fan, even more so than myself. We share the same favorite band, but Dan has like tons of cool merchandise, and I've never gotten into the merchandise, even though Kiss is my favorite band, and they are the most heavily merchandised band in history. I've never gotten into the merchandising. I mean, I certainly have all the CDs and DVDs, and sometimes Dan will burn a CD for me of a concert or something, but I've never gotten into the merchandising. I don't know how anyone affords it, but so I'm kind of glad I've never gotten into that part of it. But they are my favorite band, so looking forward to Friday. So, you know, I want to talk about this impeachment thing. Yes, the I word, impeachment. And John Boehner's recent statements regarding impeachment and what some other people are saying about impeachment of President Barack Obama because he's this lawless imperial president, in quotes. But I'm going to relate this. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit of a different way. I want to relate this to how the two-party system, in my view, is ruining America. And I don't mean that hyperbolically. I mean it quite literally. And longtime viewers and listeners have heard me talk about this extemporaneously on the show. I am an independent for a variety of reasons, one of which is I hate the two-party system. The two-party system is part of what I think holds us back in this country. And it's really come to a head, and this impeachment thing is an example of why. Because you have the Republicans and Democrats, it's at least certainly on the national level, and this has only gotten worse as the two parties have become more and more polarized. Less cooperation, less compromise. Compromise is a dirty word, especially if you're a Republican. They have no tolerance for it. You compromise on anything with the other side, they call you a rhino, a Republican in name only, regardless of how conservative you may be. They treat it like a team sport. They really do. Red versus blue, us against them. Can't let the other team score any points on anything ever. And some people like that. Some people think that gridlock is a good thing. Sometimes I have thought gridlock is a good thing, but not always. You know, there is a school of thought that the less they do in Washington, the better, because the less they do, the less they're screwing things up and ruining America. The problem is sometimes Washington really, really needs to take action, like with the current border crisis, for example, and nothing gets done because there can be no compromise on anything, and it's gotten so bad that, look, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but, and I'm going to sound like I'm sticking up for Obama here, and sometimes I do, but there are times when we have gotten into this situation now. Well, I shouldn't say gotten into like it just happened. It's been an ongoing thing with the Obama presidency, where the Republicans hate him so much that even when they agree with him, they find ways to disagree with him. And the border crisis is an example, because in terms of solutions to the border crisis legislatively, there have been things that Obama has proposed doing that Republicans have actually had to really kind of stretch to find ways to disagree with. All this sort of ideological jujitsu that they do, and they just contort themselves into ways to disagree with the president just because it's Obama, and nobody wants to be seen cooperating with Obama. But that is part of the larger issue of our two-party system is so intractable at this point that nothing can be done about anything. This border crisis needs to be solved. Something needs to be done. Congress they're going on vacation. It's recess time for Congress, so nothing will get done. Now, Obama can do something by executive order, which, by the way, Texas Governor Rick Perry hilariously criticized Obama for not doing something by executive order. I say hilariously because when Obama does anything by executive order, the Republicans start talking about impeaching Obama, because now, by acting via executive order, Obama is being lawless, and Obama is circumventing the Constitution, and Obama is an imperial president. He's acting like a king, even though Obama has actually been very restrained, if you look at the numbers, in terms of executive orders issued, compared and contrasted with other presidents in the modern era. Certainly far fewer executive orders issued than George W. Bush, his predecessor. Of course, when George W. Bush issued executive orders, Republicans didn't call him an imperial president. This is where we are. No one can do anything productive without the other side trying to get in the way. So Obama can't work with Congress on immigration reform, and now they're taking a recess. So this crisis will continue, and Obama can't do anything by executive order, and Rick Perry knows that, without Republicans calling for his impeachment. And here's where I'm getting to the bear with me. I'm going to get to the main crux of what this has to do with the two-party system specifically in a moment. And now, too, we have this weird situation where John Boehner, who continues to just astound me with what a buffoon that he is. John Boehner, House Speaker, is in the process of attempting to sue on behalf of congressional Republicans, the Obama administration. In other words, so basically you have really an unprecedented situation where the legislative branch is actually directly suing the executive branch of our government over, this is banana republic stuff. This is how bad it's gotten. Over a specific executive order. And the executive order that they have decided to target in their lawsuit against the president is his executive order to delay the employer mandate portion of the Affordable Care Act. The employer mandate, which happens to be one of the parts of the Affordable Care Act that is the most contentious, because Republicans don't like the mandates, particularly the employer mandate. So Boehner is suing Obama over an executive order delaying a part of Obamacare that Boehner and his colleagues hate to begin with. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. And it's never been done, by the way, in this way. I mean, look, part of our system of checks and balances, yes, is that we have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. And in this case, what is happening is the legislative branch is appealing to the judicial branch to make a decision about something that the executive branch is doing. Fine. But this has never been done where the judicial branch itself is claiming to have standing to bring the lawsuit. See, this is where it gets even weirder. This whole thing is you have to have standing to file a lawsuit. In other words, typically when a law is challenged or an executive action is challenged, in this case, it is challenged by an individual or a corporation or someone who is directly affected or feels that is arguing that they are directly affected in a negative way by this particular executive order. So, say, for example, a particular company that pollutes the air doesn't like a particular executive order that Obama has issued as a directive to the EPA to enforce a certain standard on something. And this company, this polluter says, well, this affects our industry. So we are going to legally challenge that executive order. So they file a lawsuit. And ultimately it may work its way up to the Supreme Court and the judicial branch, and they will address it, what the executive branch has done. And that company has standing to do that because they're directly affected. John Boehner has no standing here. In other words, if John Boehner is not directly affected, and if Congress as a legislative body is not directly affected by the employer mandate itself, then there is a legal question, or there is a legal argument that this isn't going to get anywhere anyway, because they don't have standing to file this lawsuit. It's like you have to be directly affected by something. It would be like, let's say somebody rips you off, some company or somebody bilks you out of some money, and you've been defrauded, but for whatever reason, you just don't feel like pursuing it. You could sue them, but you're you, they're them, they're going to crush you, they're going to outspend you legally, it's not worth it. And then I say, hey, I'm mad what they did to you. I'm going to sue on your behalf. If you're not going to fight for yourself, well, I'm going to fight for you. I'll file a lawsuit on your behalf. I couldn't do that. I wasn't directly affected. I don't have standing. It'll be thrown out of court right away. You can't do that. So this gambit probably isn't even going to work. But then it gets even more bizarre, because anyone with any political sense can plainly see the only reason Boehner is going down this road, knowing it's not going to go anywhere, is to placate the extremist right wing of his party, the Tea Partiers, because he's terrified of them, as he has demonstrated consistently throughout his tenure as Speaker of the House. He is terrified of the Tea Party wing of his own party. All the mainstream, traditional establishment conservatives, whatever you want to call them, they're all terrified of these people. So Boehner continues to be spineless, continues to look like a buffoon, continues to be made a fool of by these people. But now he's doing this, and the reason everybody's figured it out, it doesn't take a political genius to figure this out. The reason he's doing this now is to stave off the impeachment talk. And we have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's Matty Connarton. It's Uncle Teddy Nugent. How are you doing?
Ted Nugent. Oh, this is phenomenal. I didn't expect to hear from you. Terrible Ted is on the line, making a return appearance to the show.
I heard you were talking about rhinos, and I just wanted to tell you, I do a lot of rhino hunting myself. I'm really well known for shooting down rhinos.
By the way, Ted, do you drink Pepsi Max? I'm trying to get some sponsorship money.
I would be willing to give you sponsorship money if you're willing to wear one of my limited edition Ted Nugent coonskin cowboy caps.
Ted, I can't wear hats. My head gets very hot and itchy.
Well, actually, it looks like you have a dead raccoon on your head now, there, Matty. What's up with that?
I know. I'm a hippie, or something.
But you're talking about. I'm actually. I'm pursuing a lawsuit with the President of the United States right now.
You are suing President Obama.
Speaking of coons, what he's doing now is he is going to sign into an executive order outlawing the right for us United States citizens to wear coon tails on our hats or on our belts. And he's saying it's racist and also anti-American because the raccoons are what really ran this country. So I'm going to sue President Obama and all of the rest. He's the resident of the United States.
Yes.
And all his other subhuman mongrel friends. I'm going to make sure I have the right to continue to tour wearing a coon tail.
So you feel that that his stance on that directly affects your business, the business of Ted Nugent?
It does, because, you know Ted Nugent. I come out on stage with nothing but a loincloth, a bow and arrow, and a coon tail, and you know that's Uncle Teddy.
Yes.
And he is inhibiting my rights to manufacture my coon tails.
Well, Ted,
I've been out shooting coons for years, and he's making me like, now I can't. What am I going to do with all these damn tails?
Well, Ted, I hate to change the subject, but I do have to ask you, because we have you on the phone, because I know you have very strong opinions regarding these matters. The current border crisis. We have all these children coming over the border who've come up through Mexico from terrible places like Honduras and places like that. What should we be doing? And are you frustrated by the lack of action by our government to do something to solve this issue, Ted?
I'm frustrated to some extent, but how good are these young children at working? Because I need people to work in my sweatshop. And these are legalized sweatshops because, I was working ever since I was like a fetus.
Yes.
So if we can get these kids working and they can manufacture my guitars and manufacture my hats and my beef jerky, then I'm all for a certain amount of them immigrants to work in my factories, because I figure I can give them like 5 cents an hour and provide them plenty of health care. I have a thing of Tylenol aspirin.
Sure.
So if they get sick, I'll just give them an aspirin.
And they're just kids. How sick can they get?
Yeah, they're little kids.
Yeah.
And, I'm thinking, I don't like the fact that we have this open door policy. Like, it reminds me of a Denny's restaurant. That's what this country's turned into, that everybody's welcome.
Well,
come on. I think we need to shut some of the doors, because I think we're getting a little bit too many people coming in, because of all these influx of different immigrants, my shows are getting canceled.
Really? Is that true, Ted? You're having some trouble on the touring circuit?
They're saying I'm racist and I'm, anti the resident of the United States. So the immigrants are the ones that are causing my concerts to slip and slide and fail. My Hobos and Has-Beens tour has been doing horrendous. I had to drop my opening act. I've now hired Falco.
Falco? The Rock Me Amadeus guy?
Falco's going to help bring the numbers back up.
Wow. Well,
now, I also was reading something recent about stuff happening in your state, which is one of the few states where you can live free and wear a coon on your head. I heard something about one of my favorite actors of all time, Gil Gerard, the former Buck Rogers. I guess he was having some sexting issues with a prostitute.
Oh, Gil Gerard? I don't know about that. We do have a conservative talk show host here named Rich Gerard who had a bit of a kerfuffle.
Oh, that. I was thinking it was Buck Rogers that was having because I used to love that Buck Rogers show because he shot first and then asked questions later, especially if they were a different color, like green or blue, you know. And I thought when I was reading in your union leader, it said something about Gil Gerard being caught talking to a prostitute by the name of something smelly. Her name was Smelly something. I can't even think of the girl's name now, and I don't condone prostitution unless we call them groupies.
Right. Absolutely.
And I also heard my good buddy George Lambert was having some issues too, and I enjoyed him on your show a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
It was great to see him speak his piece, and it's just kind of it's heartwarming to see a man like him out there bringing his family forth and saying, you know what, this never happened. My family's here to say it never happened. And it reminds me a lot about what I do because I bring my wife out all the time anytime I'm caught doing anything. And I always say, honey, it wasn't me.
That's right.
And she looks at me and she believes me and says, you know what? Yeah, it wasn't you. So I think that's the best thing to do. And when I made comments about the resident of the United States, being a subhuman mongrel, and that I wanted to chop the heads off of all the Democrats like Braveheart style.
Yes, I remember that.
I want to say for the record right now, and I will bring my wife on the air with you too and tell you that it wasn't me. Those were all taken out of context.
Right.
And if need be, I'll have my children read a letter from somebody that actually walked by the President Obama, and then that letter will actually stipulate that it wasn't me.
Well, that's fantastic, Ted.
So I want to just do whatever I can do.
It would be wonderful to have you in person on the show.
I'm glad you cleared up about Gil Gerard, though, because I got worried because he's a hero of mine.
Yes, no one likes to see their heroes fall to the terrible temptation of behaving like a red-blooded heterosexual male. It's a terrible thing.
Exactly.
Terrible thing.
That's the excuse I use all the time myself. And I also was very upset. You mentioned at the beginning of your show all your accolades and thanks for everybody that influenced you, but never once did you mention your Uncle Ted. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be alive today because of that night I spent with your mama.
Wait, really? You're my dad?
So, well, you'll find out soon enough, son. I don't want to reveal that information, but why do you think you've always called me Uncle Ted?
I don't think I've ever called you that. But I will say this. I will say this, Ted. I think you're just messing with me. But I will say this. I do appreciate you, Ted Nugent. I appreciate such musical poetry as Wang Dang Sweet Poon Tang and Wango Tango and all that wonderful poetry that you've written.
Well, one of my big hit songs is going to be the new national anthem, Free for All. If we keep letting this president of the United States doing what he's doing, let's just open the doors and give everybody everything for free. You deserve it.
Well,
and I'm thinking of starting up a GoFundMe account because I need to go get some more coon skins.
GoFundMe accounts are all the rage, Ted. You should.
Well, I figure I'm behind the times.
You should have a series of them.
Because my tour is being canceled, and I already have millions of dollars because I've made money before I became such a blabbermouth. But I have tons of money, and I have the Tea Party support me left and right. But I just want to go get a pint of ice cream, so I'm thinking of doing a GoFundMe to go get a pint of ice cream today. So if any of your listeners want to go to my GoFundMe account and help a brother out, so I can go get myself a pint of that Ben and Jerry's American Dream. It's actually the new Ted Nugent Ben and Jerry's. It's the sweet poon-tackler ice cream. So.
You should have that, Ted. You should have that ice cream. You deserve it.
I do. So any of your watchers watching it live or on the replay, if you would like to log into the GoFundMe and help me out, because I know I can easily just go and pull it out of my bank account or actually get a real job, but I'm thinking GoFundMe is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Well, that's assuming you could actually hold down a real job, Ted Nugent. I mean, a rock and roller like yourself, you might find a job and then, lose it after a few weeks.
Well, maybe I could find somebody that I can exchange messages with. Maybe I can send you some messages, and then I'll go to like a local blowhard and say, hey, can you publish these out so I can get some recognition, because I need to get 15 minutes back.
I could hook you up with Rich Gerard.
Yeah, I'm sure you have connections.
Well, we're Facebook friends. For whatever that's
worth. I
worth.
should let you go back to your show. I'm taking up too much of your time. I have to get back on tour. But yes, I've had a lot of my shows canceled because of some of the things I've said. So I just want to point out to people that when you say things, consequences do happen.
Yes.
So I apologize to some extent for some of the things I may have said, but not really. But I do apologize because, yes, I'm actually making my grave. I'm digging it deeper and deeper because I keep saying things that are not 100% true, but yet it's kind of affecting everybody around me. So that's all I want to say, and I want you to continue having a great show. And that's it. And I hope you don't have any more of those creepy escapades with that roulette guy. So.
Well, thank you, Ted Nugent. You are a great American.
I try to be Matt at Connarton and keep doing a great job on Unleashed. Thank you very much, and talk to you soon.
Thank you, Ted. All right, there you have it. Wow, what a great surprise. I honestly had no idea that we would be once again hearing from Ted Nugent, the great Ted Nugent, with some very strong opinions, as always. So before Ted called, so I was talking about this Boehner's impeachment thing. Let me get to the crux of the issue here. And how this relates to the two-party system. There was this thing, this popped up. This was from HuffPost. It says here, John Boehner calls impeachment talk a scam by the White House. Now we're going to get even more Banana Republic. All right, so Sarah Palin may have demanded that President Barack Obama be impeached, and Tea Party Republicans may have flirted with that idea as well. But House Speaker John Boehner declared Tuesday that such talk was all a scam dreamed up by the White House. Now, again, keep in mind, there's been all these Republicans out there openly talking about impeachment, typically Tea Party types, but now Boehner's blaming the White House. Listen to this. The whole talk about impeachment is coming from the president's own staff and coming from Democrats on Capitol Hill. Why? Because they're trying to rally their people to give money and show up in this year's elections. We have no plans to impeach the president. We have no future plans. Listen, it's all a scam started by Democrats at the White House. Boehner appeared to be referring to comments last week by senior White House advisor Dan Pfeiffer, who was asked about impeachment talk circulating in Washington and said the administration expects that ultimately Boehner won't be able to resist appeals from his base to go after Obama, which is true. The speaker is already launching a lawsuit against Obama, alleging that he has not enforced the Affordable Care Act vigorously enough. Again, something the Republicans hate to begin with. A resolution authorizing the suit is expected to get a vote by the full House this week. While there is talk on the right of impeaching Obama, so far the greatest impact of it has been indeed to help Democrats raise money. Earlier this month, Republican leaders also downplayed the chances of impeachment. There are, however, a number of Republicans who have floated the I word. Just this past weekend, Representative Steve Scalise, Republican of Louisiana, a new member of Boehner's leadership team, refused to take impeachment off the table. Others who have raised it include Representative Jason Chaffetz, Republican of Utah, Senator James Inhofe, Republican of Oklahoma, Representative Blake Farenthold, Republican of Texas. You ever see that guy on TV? Representative Ted Yoho, that's a fun name, from Florida. They're all Republicans. Representative Lou Barletta of Pennsylvania. Representative Steve Stockman of Texas. No surprise there. That guy's a lunatic. Steve King, Republican of Iowa. And Representative Carrie Bentivolio of Michigan. They're all Republicans. And there's others too who do not currently hold office who in the media have been raising this. But now Boehner's right about one thing. The Democrats have been able to raise money off of this. In defense of Obama, they've been able to raise money. You see where this is all headed? So you have Republicans raising money because they're able to say to their base, their constituents, look, we're fighting Obama with everything we've got. We're suing him. Some of us are talking about impeachment. Speaker of the House is denying impeachment, but we all know, wink, wink, he secretly would love to impeach Obama, but he has to give himself cover. So give us money. So they're raising money off of this. And the Democrats are raising money off of it as well to defend the president and to defend the party. This is one of the most incredible examples I can think of. And this is why I say the way the two-party system is breaking our country has come to a head is because this is such an incredible example of how the two parties are completely out for themselves and are not at all interested in what is best for the country. It's a team sport to them, and they're completely out for themselves because they're taking this ridiculous notion. It is completely ridiculous. It's Banana Republic stuff, this idea that anyone could actually impeach President Obama over an executive order delaying a specific part of the Affordable Care Act. That's insane. And again, it's something the Republicans hate to begin with, so why they would even be mad at Obama over that is pretty transparent. And Bush did the same thing. George W. Bush, when Medicare Part D was being implemented, there were problems, there were complications with that. Bush delayed specific parts of Medicare Part D via executive order. In other words, there is precedent for what Obama is doing, and no one challenged Bush. No one said, Bush is lawless. He's the imperial president. We need to impeach Bush. You know, it's just politics, but they're raising money off of it. And so is the other side. They're using this ridiculous distraction to raise money. Everybody wins. Both the Republicans and Democrats come out of this looking great. I mean, yeah, the Republicans, in my view, in this particular instance, look like buffoons, but so what? They're raising money. Everybody's raising money. It's a business. Politics is a business to them. It's not about serving the country. It's not about serving you, the voters, the constituents. It's not about representing you. It's all about raising money. It is a business. They are career politicians, and this is a business, both Democrats and Republicans. And this is a fantastic example of why I continue to just want to, you hear me bang this drum all the time. I just want to tear down the two-party system. Both parties, they got to go. I just want to rip the whole thing down. There was a poll recently, the newest statistical information that I've seen says that 42% now, 42% of this country's active electorate now self-identifies as independents. People who do not want to affiliate with either of the two major parties. 42%. That is an all-time high. That is very encouraging. And it's crap like this that drives more and more people out of whichever party they're affiliated with and into the independents. But we got a long way to go. Because the reality is, on the one hand, yes, that number is encouraging. I, as an independent, I'm encouraged to see more people becoming independents and helping with this fight against the two-party system. Here's the problem, though. That number really doesn't mean anything if we continue to have one election after another, a 90% incumbency rate, which is astonishing when you think about how unpopular everybody is. Obama's approval ratings have been pretty low. Congress's approval ratings are abysmal. They're typically below 5%. Think about that. Below a 5% approval rating. So less than 5% of the country actually thinks Congress is worth a damn. You see these memes now online and in the media, Congress, less popular than cockroaches, less popular than cancer. the American people obviously are completely dissatisfied with our government on all levels, particularly Congress. So you would think that that would be encouraging in a sense that we can get something done as far as getting these people out. You hear that phrase, you hear that expression, throw the bums out. But then what happens on election day? We end up with a 90% incumbency rate. 90% of these people, we just go in that election booth and re-elect them. Because people say, oh, throw the bums out. Oh, except my bum. Except, I know, yeah, throw the bums out because most of them suck and our government's corrupt and it's a do-nothing Congress and all that. Oh, but you know what? I kind of like my senator. I kind of like my congressman. I saw an ad recently for my senator talking about all the great things that my senator has brought to my state. All these great pork barrel projects that actually end up creating a lot of jobs and are good for the local economy. So, yeah, and you know what? My senator, he's one of the good ones. I'm gonna re-elect him or re-elect her. So that these low approval ratings mean nothing, and that 42% of the electorate now being independents, it doesn't mean anything if we continue to have a 90% incumbency rate. All of that, I call it the 3Ds, disgust, discouragement, and disenfranchisement. All those things that people feel, those are things that can be turned into action. Something productive can be done with those, and we can start getting rid of some of these people, and we can start to chip away at the two-party system. But the 3Ds don't do any of us any good if on election day everyone sits home, and that is part of the problem, is that the statistical data shows that the more disgusted, discouraged, and disenfranchised people feel with the two parties, voter turnout goes down. It doesn't go up, it goes down. Now, I understand why. I understand the psychology behind it. Because people feel like if they can't get excited about either candidate in a two-person race, if it's a general election race and you're not excited, take 2012. And if you're not excited about Mitt Romney or Barack Obama, you just, I don't like either of them, so I'm going to stay home. And that's what has to change. When people feel the 3Ds, voter turnout decreases. We need to flip that. I'm begging you, people, we need to flip that. If you're an independent, please. We've got to get that 42%, we've got to get that number up. I would love to see it at 50%. I would love to see half the active electorate in this country identify as independents. That'll put some heat on these people. Until we hit 50%, they're not worried about a thing. Because they know if you're so discouraged and disgusted and disenfranchised that you're just going to stay home, then that doesn't affect them. It's a zero-sum game to them. You know what I did in 2012? I voted for Obama in 2008. I couldn't do it again in 2012, nor could I vote for governor 47%. So I went in and I voted third party. And I voted for the Libertarian candidate, Gary Johnson. Not that I'm necessarily wild about Gary Johnson. I like him. But honestly, I would have probably voted for whoever the independent was. Because I want to do whatever I can to chip away at the two-party system. I don't know if we'll ever see in my lifetime any kind of significant progress, but people need to wake up because it's getting worse. Again, this impeachment thing is a perfect example of how, you hear people use these cliches, oh, our government's broken. You hear that all the time, government's broken. It's beyond broken. So we have to take it back, and that's another cliche you hear. We have to take back our government. Well, the only way we can take it back is we have to stop electing Democrats and Republicans. We have to elect more independents. There's so few of them now. I was thrilled. I was ecstatic when Angus King from Maine got elected to the U.S. Senate, an independent. But there's so few. There's so few. And we need more, and we need to keep the heat on these people. I have a lot more to talk about, but we're out of time. So don't forget, every Thursday night on the Dr. Kevin Radio Network, DKRN.FM is the radio edition of Matt Connarton Unleashed, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also find it on IPMNation.com. So we'll get into some more of these issues tomorrow night. There's some new death penalty stuff I need to talk about. Some new numbers that are out that continue to reinforce my point about why the death penalty needs to go. Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, is in some serious ethical trouble, along with his buddy Chris Christie. They're of opposing parties, but birds of a feather. No wonder they get along so well. So we'll get into that tomorrow night as well on the radio edition of Unleashed. And don't forget, once again, now today's show will be available late this evening on demand at ipmnation.com/MCUTV. These now get uploaded the same day, so later on the same day. So you don't have to wait till the weekend to see the replay. And I guess that's it. I'll be back later. I'll be back tonight on Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Gary is out this week, so the Honorable Al Baldessero will be filling in for Gary. So he and I will be hosting together, and we have a great guest, and I will. You'll have to tune in later to find out who it is. So this will be my first time co-hosting with Al, so that'll be interesting. So that's it for now. I'll talk at y'all later. Thank you again to Ted Nugent for calling in. Be sure to check him out on the Has-Beens and Hobos tour, and I will talk at you all a little bit later. Thanks, everybody.